I'd like to call the Public Works meeting to order. And Majority Council, can you do the roll call, please?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Brewski, Mr. O'Brien,
Here.
Bergdorf,
Here.
Cleary,
Here.
Fine, Tunney,
Here.
Peter,
Here.
Reinhardt,
Here.
and Smith.
On this
Here.
one, we're all professionals.
7 present, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, the previous minutes, can I have a motion to approve the previous minutes?
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Okay, current business. Rebecca?
Sure. Item 2 is authorizing an agreement with NTS Data Services, LLC, regarding support and maintenance of software installed at the Albany County Board of Elections. Ms. Donovan is here this evening, I believe.
Okay, we have somebody from the Board of Elections to discuss it.
Okay, so Chairman Bleddy and Rachel Bleddy and Kathy Donovan are not here today. So Dave, Katie, and Melissa Cremani are filling in.
Okay.
And the Board of Elections is seeking renewal of its maintenance agreement with NTS Data Services, which is the developer and sole point of support and maintenance for the team voter registration, workflow, sign it, signature digitization, full document imaging, and packets election management applications currently installed in the Board of Elections. It also prints our April countywide mail check card and provides the data for emergency poll books. NTS is the only company that can practically and legally maintain the software and supplies these systems to 49 other counties in New York State. The cost of the agreement is $102,797 for a 1-year term from 1/1/21 to 12/31/22. Does anyone have questions?
Mr. Bergdorf?
Yeah, I think maybe some of my questions were answered. I got some conflicting, when I read the backup, I got some sort of conflicting information, which was that we were looking at a 1-year extension of the program, while there happens to be it appears that there was another quote for $99,802 that went to the Contracts Advisory Board. So are we doing a 1-year extension, a 5-year extension? What are we actually doing here tonight?
It looks like 1 year to me.
Who is that?
This is Dave Katie. I'm Kathy Donovan's deputy, the Democratic deputy.
Okay.
So it's 1 year.
Correct.
I mean, it's a sole source. I don't have any issue with it. It's just that some of the background was conflicting.
I understand.
Well, what specific, Paul, what are you are conflicted about?
So basically, we're doing a 1-year contract because I think we don't want to be locked in to the 3-year contract in case it's my understanding that other companies are coming out with VR systems that we might want to take a look at in the future.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Okay, but once again, the only reason that I raised the question was because there was a memo from MTF saying that the 1-year contract was for $99,802, and it looks like there was some consideration of it going to cab. But I have no objection to it. I just wanted to know whether we were looking at 1 year, 5 years, which of the Chinese menu we were adopting.
Yeah, I understand. This is for a 1 year.
Are there any
Contract.
other questions? Are there any other questions?
Yeah, Chairman O'Brien?
Yes.
Yeah, the term of the contract is 1/1/21 to December 21. So something's wrong here with the wording here, because the contract is for 2021.
Oh, that might have been a typo. It
Well,
should be
it needs to be
1/1/2020.
Yeah, I'm
It's for
talking
1
first
year.
page there. Request for contract approval, page 1 is it's here for 2021.
I believe that was an error. I believe it should be 1/1/2022 to 12/31/2022.
So will that be corrected by a week from Monday?
If you could send
Sure,
that
we
to
can
us
correct-
in an updated letter, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd like to yield now to Chairman Nathan Bruschi is joining us, and I'll yield to the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien, for leading in my absence. I apologize for being late to this meeting. Which item are we on right now?
Number 3.
Number 3, outstanding.
Two.
Number
So if
two.
we, number 2,
There was no
No.
vote on number 2.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes.
are we tabling number 2 or are we still?
No,
on
no,
number
we're voting on it.
number 2? And Mr. Grimm was recognized last. Is there anyone else that would wish to speak on number 2? I guess we have to get the modification there. Mr. Reinhardt.
I noticed that on the first thing that I looked at, which is the 2022 contract, it's the memo from Rachel and Kathleen. In the body of it, it says the contract goes from January 1st of 2021 to 12/31/2022. So it seems like it is showing that, at least in this document, it's showing the correct end point.
What, that's not what mine says, Bill. Where are you reading that from?
This is the memo from the Board of Elections to Andrew, Dennis, Frank, and Chris Herbert, from Rachel Bloodeye, Kathleen Donovan. The date of it is 12/27/2021.
Yeah, I think the problem with that, Bill, though, is the start date is wrong. The start date should be 1/1/2022, if it's a 1-year agreement.
Okay.
And
all
I
right.
think
No,
that's the issue that Mark raised.
No, the contract says it's just for 2021. Look at the CAB 5995. It says for just 2021. So
I believe they're going to make the corrections.
Mr. Bruschi, Chairman Bruschi, if I may, it's Pat Collins. That's last year's contract. That did go before CAB because it was below the legislative threshold. The current one does have a typo for the start date, but that's easily correctable.
So why do we have this as, I think we have the objection noted that the date, the memo from the Board of Elections should be 1/1/2022. We can communicate that to Commissioner Blendy and Donovan. Is there any other commentary that we have besides this? And we can, I think, make a motion on the provisional basis that this change gets made.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Peter, second by Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Carries unanimously. Item number 3, which is to authorize a lease agreement with International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame at the MVP Arena. A very interesting item we have on here. Who do we have? Is this Mr. Belver?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you for taking this up. This is a more or less a museum of professional wrestling, international professional wrestling that's available to come into our atrium at the arena. And they have a fair amount of fit up in the space that they would be paying for, and a fair amount of transport of items that will be coming in from various different places around the world. It's a nonprofit organization. Everyone that is involved in this are volunteers. And I think it'd be very good for the community to be able to have a history of professional wrestling, especially those that are very much in involved and fans of that sport, or if you want to call it a sport / entertainment, I guess is what you would call it. But in any case, it will generate $6,000 a year starting in year 3 of a 5-year lease. We'd like to start it on February 1. They're prepared to start moving in by February 1st. And they will pay $200 a month. We'll provide utilities through the building. We have to keep the space heated now anyway. So we would be getting back $200 towards the utilities. And it would be open during times when we have events so people can go in and let their families get an education on the sport, et cetera.
Outstanding. And so I see we're doing comped rent. I guess it's an in-kind rent for the first couple years of the program. That's $500 a month thereafter, I believe. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
And they'll pay for their own fit up. So the county will have no investment in the space.
Gotcha. Any questions to the members?
Quick question, Mr. Chair, from Mr.
Mr.
Belber.
Bryan. Sorry, Mr. Bergdorf, sorry.
Thank you, Nathan. Hey, Bob, what, does this museum exist anyplace else in the nation? Is it moving
No.
from somewhere, or is this like a brand new offshoot for WWF? Or
No, it's not. It's not tied to any one organization. These gentlemen who are home based out of Catskill, Seth Turner and Mike Lanuto, they've been collecting these items and organizations that are in pro wrestling, including the WWE, as well as other international professional wrestling organizations, have been donating items and video, and even the wrestlers themselves have been, and there are some crazy named wrestlers that are involved in this organization as members. They're all donating their items and their prior trophies and things that they've had throughout the years. Chief Strong Bull and all the rest of the ones that we remember from back in the day are very much involved in this organization. So I think it's something that the public will really get into, to walk through the space. It's 1,500 square feet. They do plan to have displays outside of the space in the atrium on certain event nights, which will attract even more people that are walking from escalator to escalator. As you go up that side of the atrium, it'll be on the mezzanine level. So you won't go up the second escalator, you'll actually veer to your left. And that's where you'll see the items outside their space. And people will be able to walk into their space and get better educated on the items.
thank you.
There's no further questions. I'll make a motion to approve.
I've got a question, if I could. Chairman Bruce.
Mr. Graham first.
Yeah, this seems like a sweet deal here, because I know to run an ice cream stand at the MVP arena, you have to pay a fair amount of rent, don't you, Bob?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different, Mark. This organization's not looking to make money. It's not like somebody that's putting a restaurant in the front. And keep in mind that it's not accessible to get to this space when the building doesn't have an event going on. So we're locked up in the atrium. It's not a space we can really rent to people because it's not available to the public. It's really just for educational purposes for people that want to be able to veer off and see something while they're going to an event, prior to an event. And so therefore it's filling a space with something that's got some historical value and museum items that people can enjoy. At the same time that it fills the space, we get a couple $100 a month in utilities reimbursed, and then on top we'll start earning 3 through 5 years, $6,000 a year.
Bob, it says it was former, in the literature, it says former radio station. Is that where the Vandenberg station was there?
Yeah, so the space actually was where the radio station used to be. Well, actually, let me back up. The radio station space is now filled with a tech company called Tech Forward, and they've been leasing it now for some time, since the radio station left. This space actually was occupied by the ECAC Hockey League, And they also paid $500 per month to be in there. And the reason that we gave that to them is they were directly tied in with us on hosting NCAA hockey events, as well as the ECAC hockey championship. They used to come here some time ago, but they moved out of the space when COVID hit. They didn't need the space. Everybody started working from home, as did they. And so with the space empty and not really leasable to somebody that's from the retail side, it just seemed like this was a perfect fit.
So you feel it doesn't have market value then?
It really doesn't have market value. And, you know, unless there was somebody that wanted to go in the space that, you know, might want to try to lure people in to buy whatever they're selling on event nights, but it's tucked behind. I mean, you know where the space is.
Yeah.
You have to get off the escalator and actually go around the backside. You can't see it. You know, it's almost hidden. So that's why with the right signage and the right displays outside the space, I think that this museum will be able to get people, and once people know that it's there, people will want to go in there.
And will it help you get wrestling matches in there? Is there a kind of complementary situation there?
You know, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up because the WWE, which comes in here at least 2, if not 3 times a year, they're going to be coming in again April 22nd. We haven't announced it yet, but they'll be here with a SmackDown TV event, big event. You know, they like the fact that it's coming in, and you know, they know that if it's a pro wrestling museum, the fans in this market are therefore going to like the WWE events even more because they're going to be able to see all the old time history of the sport when they come in part of the event. And, you know, so from that standpoint, the WWE definitely likes the fact that it's going to be here.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Chairman.
So it's nonprofit, tucked away space, going to draw people in. Sounds like a real win-win. Mr. Peter.
If there's no further questions, I'd like to make a motion.
By Mr. Peter, second by Mr. Cleary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. And that is unanimous. Let's go back
Thank
to
you.
this top. Now on item number 4, which is authorizing agreement with David, is it Frew LLC? Contract regarding ash disposal at the Water Purification District North Plant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is in response to RFB 2021-143, North Plant Ash Lagoon Cleaning. David Freer was actually the only bidder for the RFB. The total amount of the contract would be $111,350, and the contract term is 10 months, scheduled to run between March 1st and December 31st of this year. This is an annual contract that we do in order to remove ash, sludge ash from our lagoon. This year, we're only going to be looking at removal of ash from the North Plant.
All right, any questions? Mr.
Mr.
Reinhardt.
Chair.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, is this the company that's been doing the ash removal for the last several years?
They did it in 2021, and then we had Babonia before that. So it's usually been between this company and Babonia. We did have Reifenberg sit in for a pre-bid meeting for this contract, but they opted not to submit a bid.
Do you have any sense of why those other firms didn't bid this time?
I don't know on Babonia. I think Reifenberg just probably felt it wasn't they weren't competitive. I think David Freer is a smaller contractor, and then they generally have been under $100,000 in the cost. So I don't know if Reifenberg just felt they couldn't compete with a smaller firm. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Bergdorf, still have a question? Then Mr.
Yes,
Vine.
I do. Angelo, so you answered part of my question. I was going to ask, how much did we pay last year? And you said it was under $100,000.
Yeah, I'd have to get you the exact number. I want to say we were right in like $90,000 to $95,000 range. So just kind of just under. Yep.
And can you tell me, do we know where the ash is going to go?
Yeah, so we have an agreement with Albany landfill. So the ash gets disposed of at the landfill. They use it for cover. So we do have a beneficial use on the ash itself. So they're allowed to use it for cover material.
Okay, and do we have to pay tipping for it at the landfill, or does the landfill accept it on the basis that it's a beneficial byproduct?
Yeah, it's part of the agreement. So we take in leachate from the city, and then they do this as part of the agreement. What we really do is pay for the labor to haul the material up to the landfill, but we don't pay tipping for it because, again, they are using it for cover. So there's a benefit to the landfill for the material.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Pine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just wondering about, are there environmental concerns with the ash? What kind of chemicals are in there? And you know, I know soon we're going to be doing, the leachate will be tested for PFAS, so we might find out some more information. But is that a concern?
No, it's already approved, again, for beneficial use. So it's already been approved by the state for the application of using it for cover material. So from that perspective, there's no environmental concern. I know PFAS has been an issue. We have done some limited testing on our ash, and so far the results have been non-detect on the ash material from a PFAS perspective. But we do have sample results, Sam. If you'd like to have, we can certainly, provide that to you if you want anything specific on analytics.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Seeing no other questions, so I have a motion.
Motion.
So moved.
Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Bergdorf. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. All right, carries. Moving on, number 5 is authorizing agreement with Sullivan Contracting Inc. regarding asbestos and lead paint abatement services for the Shaker Historic Village exterior stabilization project.
Good evening. This is Commissioner Latina speaking to this project. We're doing a stabilization and of the Shaker Society. Sullivan Contracting was the low bidder on the RFP that was issued. At the cost of $168,800 with a contingency allowance of $25,320, not to exceed $194,120. We need to do this work before we can begin the stabilization on the buildings that were chosen.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Latina. This is just purely the outsides of was it the
Shaker Society, the historic
Right.
buildings on the Shaker portion of it.
Yeah, it's for lead
paint.
Do you know which buildings they are? Is the Brethren Workshop, I think, is what we were talking about?
No, it's not the Brethren. I think it's I'm trying to think. It was the old. I think it's an old meeting house. I can get you those, but we had to scale down the project because of the cost of the project. So it was supposed to be a bunch of them, but it's actually only 2 buildings now that we're able to do with the money that we have.
Gotcha. Thank you. Any questions to the members?
Motion to move it.
Motion by Mr. O'Brien, second by Mr. Cleary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, that carries. And now we're on to number 6, which is authorizing an agreement with the New York State Unified Court System regarding custodial and building maintenance services for Albany County Courthouse, Judicial Center, and Family Court.
Yes, again, this is the 4th year of a 5-year contract done with United Court System. The amount that was set for this year was $690,500, which would be their portion of their maintenance cost and cleaning cost of the 3 courthouses, which would be the Justice Center, the main courthouse, and Family Court. And this is from April 1st, 2021 through March 31st of 2022.
Any questions, Mr. Cleary?
Quick question,
Cleary.
Mr. Chair.
We'll get first to Mr. Cleary, then we'll do Mr. Bergdorf.
Dave.
Wait, hold on. Is Mr. Cleary, was that a question or is that a motion?
I'm just going to abstain.
Oh, abstain. Got it. Noted. Mr. Bergdorf.
Dave, you said this was for our portion of the cleaning. What does that?
No, it's their portion. It's the Unified Court Systems portion of the cleaning contracts and maintenance.
And how do we augment that?
Well, I don't understand what you mean. Well, we put out the bids for the cleaning contracts, maintenance contracts, and then we take it and then they're apportioned to the buildings themselves. Let's say that the family court would be a 75%. Let's say the courthouse would be 70%, the 55 or 60%. It's all
Okay.
portioned there. What their portion would be under that 690, under the 686 program.
So, but my point is the county pays money in addition to this 690 to clean the 3 courthouses.
Correct.
And how much, relatively speaking, how much do we pay?
That figure I'd have to dig out for you because there's maintenance contracts, there's elevator contracts, there's the cleaning contracts, there's pest contracts. There's a whole bunch of different contracts that go into this in order to get to that figure of the 6. But the 690 is the maximum that Unified Court will pay under the 5-year contract. They give you the 5-year contract. It's apportioned over 5 years. So let's say last year, it might have been like, say 670 or 665. It goes up a certain amount every year because the costs go up, but that's a locked in contract for what we're getting from them.
Okay, so this is the maximum contribution of the unified court system, but we augment it in addition.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Motion, please, to
By
move it.
Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Reinhardt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Anyone abstaining? Mr. Cleary? All right, that carries. Number 7,
Thank you.
penultimate one. Thank you very much. Authorizing an agreement with Chalk Consulting Inc., or CHA rather, regarding design and construction inspection services for CR 157, the highway improvement project.
Hi, good evening, Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman.
Raimundo. Nice to see you.
Yeah. Hi, good evening, everyone else too. The Department of Public Works is requesting approval to enter into a design services agreement with Clough Harbor Consulting for the design of our New Carner Road Highway Improvement Project in an amount not to exceed $650,000. I have to say that on the agenda, it's noted that construction inspection is included in this. However, this amount there's no construction inspection included. So there's just an error on the actual agenda, the way it was written up. So I just wanted to point that out. This project is 80% federally funded with Transportation Improvement Program funding, also known as TIP funding. And that means that the county will be responsible for $130,000 of the $650,000. The federal aid process dictates that the consultant selection is qualifications based rather than fee based. So we interviewed and so we looked through 7 proposals from different design engineers, as well as interviewed them. And our engineering staff decided that the award should go to Clough Harbor based on their understanding of the scope of the project. This is a pavement rehabilitation project that will include drainage improvements, signal optimization, and additional sidewalks throughout the corridor. And I'm open to any questions.
Commissioner,
Any questions?
Sure.
quick
Mr.
quick
Verba.
question. Lisa, what's the time frame on the project? I know that this is design.
Yeah.
When do you hope to be moved from the design to the bidding phase, documents and bidding phase?
We expect that this is going to be a lengthier design phase than most because it's federally funded and there's a lot more process involved in it. So what would typically take a year for design will likely take 2 years for design. So we expect to be into construction in 2024.
Okay, and generally, would you have the same consultant do the inspection that did the design?
Yes, we would. And we will negotiate that fee at a later date and then do a supplemental to this contract.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner,
Yes.
is there a bike path included in the design?
Well, that's a good question. That is part of the RFP. The design engineers are examining the whole corridor, and they're going to be putting in pedestrian and bicycle facilities where feasible. There's pinch points, so we won't be able to outfit the entire corridor with sidewalk / multi-use path, but where it's practical and where right-of-way doesn't prohibit it, we will be adding those amenities.
I'll make a motion, move it.
Mr.
second it.
O'Brien,
Second.
second by Mr. Smith. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. All right, that one carries. Last item on the agenda is authorizing supplemental agreement with MJ Engineering and Land Survey. Is this also you, Commissioner?
Yes, it is. Yep. So we're requesting approval to enter into an agreement with MJ Engineering. This is a supplemental agreement which expands the scope of their design work. The expanded scope includes additional geometry design, survey, and mapping at 2 intersections, and redesign of the entire project corridor to move the multi-use path from the north side of the roadway to the south side of the roadway. Some additional expenses also include updating the engineer's estimate and additional right-of-way mapping costs. The supplemental adds $56,700 to the original agreement, which gives a new contract total of $354,700. This project is 100% county funded.
I see Mr. Bergdorf has a comment.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Lisa, for agreeing to hold this 2 or 3 months ago before we had the second informational meeting, which I think was good. From a process point of view, we had told folks that we would get back to them. And I think folks understand now what the project is going to be. I didn't go through the background with a fine-tooth comb, but I assume that nothing has changed since the public meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct. So other than perhaps, I don't know if we talked about the scheduling update.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. If you could
Okay,
give
there
a
you go.
scheduling.
Okay, so we were initially, there was a possibility that it could be constructed in this year, in 2022. However, utility relocation is substantial on this project, and MJ's been working closely with all of the utility companies. And realistically, it seems that this year is going to be the year of utility relocation, and next year is going to be the year of actual highway improvements.
Will the utility relocation have an impact on the traffic in the corridor? I mean, is it going to be substantial work in 22?
You know what? I will have to get back to you on that. Bill, I think maybe on this call, and he might know a little about it, but
He's on, but he's muted. Bill, it's *6 to unmute if you can hear me.
okay. Not sure. I don't think it's going to require boring into the road and such, but I will have to get back to you on that for sure. Let's see. I'll text Bill and see if he's still with us.
So that's all right. You could just
Yeah.
get back. But I think there are a bunch of us whose districts border
Yeah.
that area. And if there is going to be substantial construction or construction that's going to reduce laneage or whatever, it would be helpful for us to know, to be able to relay that to constituents.
Sure. Yes, I'll catch up with MJ tomorrow and find out exactly the extent of it, how much is underground and how much is overhead.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. O'Brien,
Seconded.
seconded by Mr. Bergdorf. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, that concludes our agenda. Apologies to Committee Chairman Fine for going over onto his meeting. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
By Mr. O'Brien, second by Mr. Reinhardt. All in favor, say aye. And that
Aye.
does it. Thank you all for coming today, and we got